Bloomberg Tech is live from coast to coast with Caroline Hyde in New York and Ed Ludlow in San Francisco.
This is Bloomberg Tech. I'm Jackie Davalos here in New York. Coming up, Ed Ludlow is live in DeSoto, Kansas from Panasonic's newest EV battery plant. We'll have the live conversations with Panasonic North America CEO and Lucid CEO this hour. Plus, Bitcoin soars past $120,000 as Congress starts Crypto Week. And Musk says Tesla shareholders will vote on whether to invest in his AI startup, xAI. Let's head over to DeSoto, Kansas, where Panasonic has just unveiled its latest EV battery plant. Ed Ludlow is standing by. What are you seeing, Ed?
Yeah, this is a 4.7 million square feet facility that at full capacity, 30 gigawatt hours, enough for 500,000 EVs per annum, all powered by these little guys, 2170 cells. And we're delighted to be joined by Panasonic Corporation of North America CEO, Myungwon, regular contributor to the show.
Thank you.
But this was the moment. You and I talked about it earlier in the year.
Yes.
What does it mean for Panasonic in America and American manufacturing of battery technology?
So this is more than a 10-year vision. We wanted to do this and we wanted to go big in this market. So we had a commitment and we started in Reno, Nevada, and this is our factory that we're diversifying our EV strategy, and we're going to be full production this year, and it's really exciting. Today's a fun and exciting day, and this is a celebration.
Full production this year?
Yes.
So cells are already coming off the line?
Yes.
Could you just explain the roadmap for the ramp? Because no facility is straightforward, but this is the size of 200 American football fields. How are you going to get to full capacity this year?
So we started in November 2022, 2.5 years ago, and it was all flat field, and it was a massive land. And we started the construction, and we started the production and testing last week, and we're going to produce the batteries this year. And you probably saw the cars that we have in display, and Tesla, Lucid, and Hexagon truck. And we're really excited to work with different suppliers and partners and clients this year.
We're going to discuss in detail those customers. They're really key to this. There were media reports Friday night that there would be a delay in reaching full capacity, and what the report stated was that was due to demand. Are you able to comment on that report? And it sounds like they were misinformed if you are going to hit full capacity this year.
I do think it was misinformed, and we're a Japanese company, and when we say, when we commit to something, we're fully committed, and we want to make sure that we support all the customers that we're committed. We're not feeling the slowdown yet, and we're very, very bullish on working with all those customers.
When you say you're not feeling the slowdown, that means that you're seeing consistent orders from those key customers, or they're still committing to orders in advance? What do you mean by the definition of what you just said?
So we have the operation in Reno, and that's going very healthy, and we're seeing the commitment coming in for this facility as well. So we're not feeling the slowdown yet, but yet again, I mean, you see this operation, this is a long-term commitment. So there may be some pushback or moving ahead, but we're committed for a long term, and we're not shying away from those from time to time challenges.
Throughout the morning, there was a lot of discussion about Tesla because Tesla makes the best-selling EV model in the world. This specific facility, does Tesla dominate the proportion of output, or is it more evenly split across your different customers?
So we're working with Tesla for sure, and we're working with Lucid and Hexagon and other clients. So it is to diversify our EV manufacturing in the United States.
What do you mean by diversify? Move away from one sort of core customer?
No, not really. We're expanding, right? So we're definitely working with Tesla, but we want to work with other established OEMs as well as startups. So it's part of our efforts to expand our strategy and manufacturing output as well.
What signals has Tesla given you about its future orders, about the health of its business?
Your guess is as good as mine, but we have a long-term relationship, longer than anyone else, and they're still a very important strategic partner for us, and I believe our partnership is very strong.
Throughout the morning, there was a lot of discussion of how Kansas was the absolute best candidate. What were the biggest factors in choosing this site? Were they financial? Were they simply the ability to get things done? Lack of red tape? Why were you able to move so quickly?
So we talked about the available workforce and the infrastructure. I mean, you saw the power lines built by the factory, and as well as the energy procurement that we can do. But more than anything, there was something very special about Kansas. All the officials were able to work with us, and you probably heard that Lieutenant Governor Toland making some of his speech in not only Japanese, but in Osaka dialect. And that level of insight and care and support really made a difference. And it doesn't matter what party they are, they're very committed to bring us here, but also make us feel home. So that kind of partnership, not just numbers and infrastructure, but emotional partnership made a difference, and we're so happy to celebrate today.
What I was going to say on the numbers is there is a job creation story.
Yes,
so
yes.
4,000 direct jobs.
Yes.
I think the number is 20,000 indirect jobs when you take into account supply chain, construction.
Right.
What have you had to do to kind of bring the other infrastructure you've needed to DeSoto? Have everything you need around you?
So what was great about planning it out, like I said, we started 2.5 years ago, and at that time we worked with local schools and community colleges to create curriculums. So when we start for manufacturing, they're there ready, already taking the courses and be available to take a job here.
To guarantee you had the skill sets that you needed?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we created curriculum together, and it's been a really good partnership, and it helps us and it helps the community, and it's like wonderful win-win.
The headline figure was that Panasonic put $4 billion into this DeSoto facility. But you were also, the reported number is eligible for almost $7 billion from the Inflation Reduction Act. How much of that materialized?
We haven't started the manufacturing here, so we have not seen the incentives yet.
They're set against milestones.
Yes. So it comes with the production. So we're looking forward to it, and it's definitely a big part of our investment.
Do you anticipate that you will get access to the full tranche of money?
We certainly hope so.
Things have changed. I mean, things have changed even since you and I spoke in January. There is some effort underway to reshape or undo the Inflation Reduction Act. It seems like the $7,500 credit, which goes to the consumer on the vehicle, will go. But the 45X manufacturer credit seems intact. How have you navigated that? Is that your read on the scenario as well?
So we're still very hopeful that should remain. And I think it should remain. It's not only for us, but it's for creating jobs and manufacturing and bringing technology to U.S. So far it's very positive, and we're hopeful that it stays. It will be a big part of our long-term strategy.
What's the supply chain story right now for DeSoto, Kansas? When you think about your raw material needs and everything that goes into the cell process, are there things that are still difficult? What are they? Or has bringing this facility online been smoother because of policy?
We have been planning for the supply chain resilience, not just for this and recent tariff situation, but from COVID. During COVID, we really suffered from weak supply chain. I mean, I think all the industry did, and so did we. So we've been planning for supply chain resilience, and we are, I mean, just for our benefit too, to make sure that those supply chains stay local and within the North America. And our goal is to complete 50% of our supply chain by 2030 to be completely local.
Are any of the conditions currently associated with that 45X manufacturer credit difficult when you think about foreign entity of concern or parts of the supply chain, which in the context of metals, like China is still a factor here?
Yes. So we started partnering with China, and we are, for the supply chain resilience, we are trying to diversify and make sure the supply chain is more resilient, to make sure that we can procure and process on site. So it's not really a new change for us necessarily. We've been trying to do that for a few years.
Where are the bottlenecks right now, if any?
I don't know. It's really the refining process to make sure that we can find a supplier who can make sure that quality is there, right? The refinement, the quality matters for our quality production. So that's where we pay most attention to make sure that the raw material is ready for quality EV batteries, right? It's good for everyone. For consumers, we want to make sure those EV batteries are tested and safe.
I know this might seem far-fetched. We are just bringing this facility online.
Yes.
But one of the questions I got from you, from the audience, is what happens next? Mm-hmm. You have Nevada.
Right.
You now have Kansas.
Right.
Does Panasonic see further sites? For EV in the first instance, what is your next priority?
It's TBD. Today's the first day of this operation, and we're really excited to make sure that this goes smooth, producing quality EV batteries. We'll focus on that first, and if it goes well, who knows, right?
Demand is still a question.
Yes.
What I find interesting is a lot of the customer base is pure play EV. Mm-hmm. But the lesson we've learned in the last 18 months or so is hybrid is still a big part of the market.
Right.
Maybe in a way that surprised many.
Right. Right.
Do you have the ability to tap into demand for hybrid from this facility or others?
We don't know yet, but we're pleasantly surprised that EV sales still rose by like 11.4%. So that's a good sign. And like I said, this is a long-term play. So we're not going to be happy and sad with the small ups and downs. We're still bullish that EV market should grow and hybrid transition should be part of it.
Have you done a sort of side-by-side analysis of the economics of a single cell? Bring mine back out. I have one single 2170 cell here.
Right.
So this will be manufactured in Kansas,
yes,
not subject to tariffs. You have the Nevada facility,
right,
but Panasonic Energy also has facilities all around the world.
Yes.
Is it just an instant fix that the cell on a unit basis is just a more attractive economic proposition if it's built here in Kansas for the American market versus shipping cells in from your overseas facilities?
It makes a lot more economic sense to produce here, right? Bring raw materials here and produce here.
And we're cutting in for some breaking news here. We have President Trump in the White House with the NATO Secretary General. Take a listen.
A month ago, and I think Mark will tell you that it was really perhaps more important the date of November 5th. That was the election day. Maybe that was the most important because we've made tremendous progress together. And one of the reasons that you're here today is to hear that we are very unhappy, I am, with Russia. But we'll discuss that maybe a different day. But we're very, very unhappy with them, and we're going to be doing very severe tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. Tariffs at about 100%. You'd call them secondary tariffs. You know what that means. But today we're going to talk about something else. And as you know, we've spent $350 billion approximately on this war with Russia and Ukraine. And would like to see it end. It wasn't my war, it was Biden's war. It's not my war. I'm trying to get you out of it. And we want to see it end. And I'm disappointed in President Putin because I thought we would have had a deal 2 months ago, but it doesn't seem to get there. So based on that, we're going to be doing secondary tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. It's very simple. And they'll be at 100%. And that's the way it is. That can be more simple. It's just the way it is. I hope we don't have to do it. But regardless, we are going to be, we make the greatest military equipment in the world, whether it's missiles. You saw that recently in Iran, the way those planes flew in. They had every single, 14 bombs hit every target. Then you had the helicopters shoot a total of 30 bombs, 30 missiles. And they hit every single, Marco, is that right? Every single piece, every single target. And it was, I guess, on a scale of 0 to 10, they say it was about a 15. That's how successful it was. That's how lethal it was, a word they like to use nowadays. But it was an amazing, well-organized attack that people in this country wanted to do for 24 years. You know, when we had the pilots in last week, They were saying, sir, we've been practicing this for 24 years, meaning people, not them, but other people that are a little older now. But they too, and you were the one that let us do it. But we've been practicing it 3 to 4 times a year for 22, 24 years, because they always knew they had to stop Iran from doing what they were doing, which is trying to come up with a nuclear weapon, a nuclear bomb. And we did it very successfully. And we make the best equipment, the best missiles, the best of everything. The European nations know that. And we've made a deal today, and I'm going to have Mark speak about it, but we've made a deal today where we are going to be sending them weapons and they're going to be paying for them. The United States will not be having any payment made. We're not buying it, but we will manufacture it and they're going to be paying for it. Our last meeting of a month ago was very successful in that they agreed to 5%, which is more than $1 trillion a year, so they have a lot of money. And these are wealthy nations. They have a lot of money, and they want to do it. They feel very strongly about it, and we feel strongly about it, too. But we're in for a lot of money, and we don't want to do it anymore, and we can't. But we make the best, and we're going to be sending the best to NATO, and in some cases to maybe, at Mark's suggestion, if we go to Germany, where they're going to send early on missiles, and they'll be replaced, and NATO is going to take care of it. It's going to be coordinated by NATO, and they're going to work very much with Matt Whitaker, who's right here, who's a great ambassador, and Matt's going to be coordinating. You better do a good job, Matt.
I will.
But Matt's going to coordinate. He's a very talented guy. He's going to coordinate everything. So in a nutshell, we're going to make top-of-the-line weapons, and they'll be sent to NATO. NATO may choose to have certain of them sent to other countries where we can get a little additional speed, where the country will release something and it'll be mostly in the form of a replacement. And I'd like to have Mark, and again, just a highly respected, pretty young guy for having had the career that he's had, because he had an amazing career before going to NATO. So and we spent a lot of time together over the last couple of months. And if you could say a few words.
Absolutely. No, Mr. President, dear Donald, this is really big. This is really big. You called me on Thursday that you had taken a decision. And the decision is that you want Ukraine what it needs to have to maintain, to be able to defend itself against Russia, but you do want Europeans to pay for it, which is totally logical. And this is building on the tremendous success of the NATO summit. The 5%, but also the decision to keep Ukraine strong and the decision to increase our defense industrial production. So based on that, that was Europe stepping up. This is again Europeans stepping up. So I've been in contact with many countries. I can tell you that at this moment, Germany massively, but also Finland and Denmark and Sweden and Norway, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, Canada, they all want to be part of this. And this is only the first wave. There will be more. So what we will do is work through the NATO systems to make sure that we know what Ukrainians need, so that we can make packages. Of course, in a way, we discussed it this morning with Pete Hegseth at the Pentagon, in a way that, of course, the US will put on its stockpiles necessary to defend this country. That's absolutely clear. But it will mean that Ukraine can get its hands on really massive numbers of military equipment, both for air defense, but also missiles, ammunition, etc., etc. So if I was Vladimir Putin today and hear you speaking about what you were planning to do in 50 days and this announcement, I would reconsider whether I should not take negotiations about Ukraine more seriously than I was doing at the moment, if I was Vladimir Putin. But when I'm Ukraine, I think this is really great news for them. So I really want to thank you for that. And it means the Europeans paying for it. And again, I mentioned all these countries, we will deal with that. And exactly as you said, it might also mean that countries will move equipment fast into Ukraine, and then the US later backfilling it, because speed is of the essence here. So really, thank you. This is important.
You did a great job. That's a really great job. We've been very successful in settling wars. You have India, Pakistan, you have Rwanda and the Congo. That was going on for 30 years. India, by the way, and Pakistan would have been a nuclear war within another week, the way that was going. That was going very badly. And we did that through trade. I said, we're not going to talk to you about trade unless you get this thing settled, and they did. And they were both great leaders, and they were great. But Rwanda and the Congo, that was going on for 30 years, and at least 7 million people killed, and killed with a lot of pretty rough weapons like machetes, heads chopped off, going on for many years. You couldn't even get near the countries. Nobody wanted to get near. It's so frightening. And we got that one solved. Serbia, Kosovo, got that solved. That was going to be one that was going to happen. And again, that was something I used. I use trade for a lot of things, but it's great for settling wars. That was really very important. We're working, Marco is working very hard with everybody here on the Strip, the Gaza Strip. I call it the Gaza Strip, one of the worst real estate deals ever made. They gave up the oceanfront property, one of the worst deals ever made. But it was supposed to bring peace, and it didn't bring peace. It brought the opposite. But we're doing pretty well on Gaza. Steve Witkoff is here, and I think we could have something fairly soon to talk about. And we solved another one, that we just seem to have, Armenia and Azerbaijan. It looks like that's going to come to a conclusion, successful conclusion. We worked on Egypt with a next-door neighbor who is a good neighbor. They're friends of mine, but they happened to build a dam which closed up water going into a thing called the Nile. I think if I'm Egypt, I want to have water in the Nile, and we're working on that one. It's a problem, but it's going to get solved. They built one of the biggest dams in the world, a little bit outside of Egypt. You know about that? You've been hearing about that one. And that turned out to be a big problem. I don't know. I think the United States funded the dam.
That was President Trump with the NATO Secretary General announcing that he was, quote, unhappy with Russia and is threatening secondary tariffs of 100% on Russia if a deal with Ukraine is not reached. But first, let's get to some breaking news that crossed the wire. Mark Zuckerberg, Meta's CEO, took to Threads to say that the company will invest hundreds of billions of dollars in computing to build superintelligence. Shares rose off the news, and let's get right to that with our very own Kurt Wagner. Kurt, walk us through this latest investment and how it compares to the previous announcements the company has made.
Yeah, so some of this is, as you point out, hundreds of billions of dollars. That's very eye-catching. I will say that is a number that Mark Zuckerberg has thrown around before. Historically, he said that this is, this drive for AI is going to be incredibly expensive. He's even admitted some companies, presumably his own, will overpay on AI in order not to fall behind. So hundreds of billions on infrastructure. But I think, Jackie, when you look at this, why it makes sense is you recall over these last couple of weeks, they've been spending very aggressively to hire AI talent for this superintelligence group. And I think this, commitment to the infrastructure side is meant to sort of go hand in hand with that. Okay, so we've hired the talent, we have the people in the building that we think can build this thing, and now we're putting the money behind the infrastructure to help support them.
Kurt, this announcement has fresh resonance, especially as some of Meta's competitors are making their own moves to really bolster their AI ambitions. Talk to us a little bit about what xAI is hoping to do by tapping some of Tesla's coffers.
Yeah, so xAI is become like this central hub of the Elon Inc. universe, right? We've talked about this historically on this show before, this idea that all of Elon Musk's various businesses sort of work together and help one another. And I think that's just become more and more prevalent, especially as xAI has grown. And so we learned, that SpaceX, for example, is now investing $2 billion into xAI. We've seen that Elon Musk plans to put a shareholder vote to Tesla shareholders asking if Tesla should invest in xAI. We obviously know xAI and Twitter already merged, or X already merged. So this notion that all of these different sort of businesses of Elon's are now contributing to the AI business, I think is super notable. And you can see there are some, to use the terrible cliche, synergies between these companies, right? The idea that Grok might be distributed through Tesla's is one example of that. But it does feel like Elon is saying, okay, I have these other businesses that are doing well financially. I'm going to take some of that cash and try to use that as jet fuel on my AI startup.
Kurt, it really depends on the outcome of this shareholder vote. What is the case that Elon needs to make to shareholders about what it stands to benefit from this move?
Yeah, well, I think if you're Elon, first of all, you have a ton of loyal shareholders already, people who want this thing to happen simply because Elon Musk wants it to happen, right? So you have a pretty strong base of people. But for those who are on the fence, I think what you would sit here and say is, look, this technology, this AI technology is going to be world-changing, transforming if it hasn't, already been the case with self-driving, for example, being maybe the core Tesla example. And so I think if you're Elon, you just say, look, you're putting in money now into a technology that's going to be worth 10, 100 times more down the line, but also you're going to get, all of this data, this infrastructure that I'm building at XAI, and it could potentially benefit Tesla as well. Again, as you improve self-driving, as you, take Grok, for example, put it into the cars. So if I'm him, I paint this as very much like a rosy marriage between the future technology and putting all of that into an automobile, which I think they're already doing. So I think it's easy for people to wrap their heads around, but it's something he's going to have to really hammer home for those who are skeptical.
Kurt, we know that Bloomberg has reported that XAI is burning over $1 billion a month on its AI efforts. What do we know about how much the company is bringing in and how that compares to its competitors?
Yeah, we don't know much about the revenue of XAI because at this point, they're not really, as far as I know, making much money outside of, Grok is, for example, available to subscribers on X. There's probably some kind of financial arrangement, or at least there was before the merger, where, each subscriber sort of pays for a little bit of Grok. But I do think this is going to be the key, right? You're spending a ton of money on here. Does this pay off into a real legitimate business moving forward?
That's Bloomberg's Kurt Wagner. Thanks for joining us. Coming up, Lucid interim CEO Mark Winterhoff joins us from the Panasonic EV battery plant in Kansas. More next. This is Bloomberg Tech.
Welcome back to Bloomberg Tech. We're live in DeSoto, Kansas at Panasonic's brand new EV battery plant, 4.7 million square feet at full capacity, which will happen later this year. So news we broke with Panasonic's North America CEO, Myungwon Lee, 30 gigawatt hours of capacity. That's enough cells for 500,000 EVs per annum. One of the key customers, Lucid, and Lucid CEO Mark Winterhoff, interim CEO Mark Winterhoff, is with us now. This is a significant moment for you as well because it's your first domestic supply of cells. Reflect on that.
That is true. Yeah. So currently we're getting our battery supplies either from Japan or from Korea, depending on the supplier. And Panasonic is a great partner for us. We decided 2.5 years ago to make together this investment here and to localize the production, the cell production here to Kansas.
It's not just volume supply. This is 2170, but yeah. My understanding is there was some co-engineering to make this as good as it can possibly be. Explain how that works.
It's a great collaboration between our engineering departments and their engineering department. We bring in a lot of experience on what the cell is supposed to do in real life, and they make it happen with chemistry and with all of the parameters of the cell. So it was really great collaboration, and that we also then are able now to produce this here locally, obviously in the current climate helps us a lot.
How do the economics of the DeSoto Kansas made 2170 stack? I know that you love charts and spreadsheets as much as I do, but you must have done that analysis.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
what's it like?
I would say we wouldn't have done it if it wouldn't be economically feasible or beneficial. As I mentioned before, we made that decision not just recently. So tariffs were not on the radar screen at that time. We did that decision 2.5 years ago. And at that time, together with the 45X incentive, the tax credit, the economics make sense. I still have to say, and I hope that Panasonic hears that there's some room of improvement. But also right now, obviously, with the tariffs, this is a very good move for us.
Because the same cell that would otherwise have come from Japan or Korea is subject to tariffs.
It is.
That's exactly a part of the equation.
That is correct. And the other thing that we are currently working on together with Panasonic is obviously further localizing the supply chain for the cell. because it doesn't do you a lot of good if you manufacture here, but you still import the raw material, which is then subject to tariffs. So we're already doing a lot of investments in that. You heard about our Graphite One investments,
yes,
on the graphite and other materials. So we're working with them on making that happen as well.
Mark, I've covered Lucid for a number of years. This is the first time you and I have spoken, and I'm grateful for your time. Your predecessor, Peter Rawlinson, had a very simple argument.
Yeah.
Lucid had the best technology on the hardware side and software, battery management system.
Yes.
And even though your journey started in the premium segments, that you would scale to volume because you would just say, this performance and range in this pack, we can just scale it down, make a more affordable version. Have we hit that inflection point yet?
Well, I mean, we're about to. Everybody knows by now that follows Lucid that, we are very, very strongly working on our mid-size platform.
Right.
Which is a, smaller platform, also from a price point perspective, more in the $50,000 range, and not where we are right now. And that's when we really hit that inflection point. But with the Gravity that we are ramping up right now, we're already expecting to have much higher numbers that we had in the past.
Right, I think, there's a lot of work to do in the second half of the year to reach 20,000.
Yes.
What role does the Soto plant play? Will you be able to get hold of cells from here for vehicles sold or delivered in this calendar year?
No, not yet.
Okay,
not yet.
So
that is something for next year. And again, with our partners, with Panasonic, we are working on opportunities to further bring this in, because obviously in the current climate, that is very important for us to localize.
We've focused this morning a lot on policy. Mm-hmm. You brought up the 45X credit, but the consumer credit of $7,500, you likely know more.
Yeah.
What can you do in that environment with the vehicle? Are you able to pull forward lower price point variants? Are you looking to just appeal to the premium segment on an ongoing basis?
Well, first of all, when it comes to our current vehicles with the Air, it might not be widely known, but we are the best-selling vehicle in our segment, the best-selling EV, and we also were in the second half of last year, in the beginning of this year, we were the best-selling vehicle in the whole segment, including ICE vehicles. So the Air is actually doing well, although the numbers are obviously, when you look at the broader scheme of things, are not that high yet, but that's because of the size of the segment.
Right.
With Gravity, obviously we're now reaching a different scale, and we're still ramping up the production, and as you said, we have to do quite a lot in order to get to our target for this year, but it's going well. We're unclocking some of the blockages that we had in the supply chain, and our plant really got into the groove to create the vehicle. So I would say the inflection point of having really economics of scale is still a little bit out. We're still more appealing to the higher price segment. That's what we have. And I mean, in automotive, you cannot just decide, let's put out a new, cheaper variant next week. It takes years to implement, to plan, to engineer, to validate. So that's sometimes a little not well understood, that manufacturing and building great cars is a long-term game. And you have to build also economics of scale over time. It's not something that happens from one day to the other.
But I'll hold you to it. 20,000 is realistic this year with the time left to you.
We're in a quiet period right now, so I cannot really talk about it. I suggest you tune in our earnings call on August 5th.
I will do.
And you will definitely hear about it.
And the mid-size platform is on track for next year.
And the same applies to that as well. We're working very hard, but on August 5th there will be news on that.
The other part of Lucid's history was the idea of partnerships, manufacturing partnerships, licensing technology. Has that idea changed given the political environment?
No, actually, no, it hasn't. So, as a matter of fact, and I said that in the last couple of months, and everybody honestly, understandably asked me, okay, where is it? Where is it? Again, those things take time. And particularly in the last couple of months with the uncertainty of the tariffs, I have to say, many of the people we had conversations with, they have other issues. They have pressing things to solve right now in the last quarter, we also on top of that had, the magnet shortage, which actually halted production for several players. So those discussions still happen on our EV core technology. But also beyond that, stay tuned. There will be other news also
Are those potential partners, though, motivated by the environment? The effort to onshore industry in this country,
exactly,
to work with American companies?
They're different things. First of all, right now with the, let's say, perceived slowdown of EV adoption, especially companies that have both ICE vehicles and EVs, they can only invest the dollar once. So right now we see, let's say, shift back to ICE vehicles, and therefore, but they still need to come out with new models. And therefore we have increased interest in, hey, can we do things together?
Right.
So, and I expect this to continue, actually.
You talked a moment ago about being dominant in your segment, the lead seller in that segment.
Yeah.
But everyone always asks me, if somebody is put off buying a Tesla vehicle, I drive a Tesla vehicle or Model Y, but there are many out there that say, I don't want to buy a Tesla vehicle. Have you any data that says those buyers turn to Lucid in the pure play categories that you operate in?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I just said, we're now the best-selling vehicle in the United States in our segment. That includes the Model S, our segment. I mean, I don't compare right now the Gravity because we're still ramping up. We're in the phase of ramping up. I guess let's talk again by the end of this year where we stand on the Gravity. But the Air, yes, we see a lot of incoming. We always actually, by the way, had a lot of interest from Tesla buyers. That's not really new, but it has increased. Absolutely.
This administration is fascinating in Lucid's context. Maybe the pro-EV policy is not there, but supporting US manufacturers is. You also have the relationship with Saudi Arabia, and the administration in the context of GPUs, for example, has been supportive in those trade deals. What has the experience been like leading this company under the Trump administration, and net, how do you think you've come out so far?
Well, I mean, obviously things became more complicated. I mean, the tariff situation, I mean, there's no doubt it increases our cost. And it also creates a lot of additional headache, because you now have to completely rethink the supply chain. Are you continuing certain things, or are you localizing? Again, that's nothing that happens from one day to the other. We are doing okay when you compare to other players in the industry, also from the cost increases, particularly because we build everything right now in the United States. And we build all of the vehicles, our key components, they're all built here in the United States. Having said that, we are hit by obviously raw materials, or let's say tier 2 suppliers that we have to import, and we have to pay tariffs on that. So it's not that we are not impacted, but we're less so than others. So yeah, I mean, it's something we have to work with. And for us, it's also because we are a pure EV manufacturer. We believe in the future of electrical propulsion. We're not wavering. We're not saying, oh, let's do, I don't know, a range extender or something. That's not going to happen with Lucid. This is part of our vision, that this is the future, and actually important to save our planet. So we will find a way through this. But also have to say, for the American consumers, vehicles are going to be more expensive under the tariff regime. There's no other way around it. There is. Yes, you can say, oh, you just need to localize. Well, yes, but that still increases the costs, because there's a reason why the supply chain is so global, because certain things are either not available here in the US or are just very expensive, so you import them. And if you change that, you still have higher costs here in the United States, which means manufacturers like us, or actually any manufacturer, has to increase prices. There's no other way, unless you want everybody to be non-profit organizations, which then would lead to no innovation, no technology leadership, and I think that's, in the current climate globally, it's the last thing we want.
The cost of doing business in America. Mark Winterhoff, Lucid's interim CEO, one of the core customers at this Panasonic Soto, Kansas plant that is due to hit full capacity this year. There's so much more to come here on Bloomberg Tech. Stay with us. This is Bloomberg Tech.
Lawmakers are gearing up to focus on several key bills for the crypto industry this week, which has been dubbed Crypto Week, including the Senate's Genius Act and the Clarity Act. For more, Bloomberg's Zeke Fox joins us now. Part of what's driving this big rally in crypto is obviously this momentum on Capitol Hill. Walk us through the nuts and bolts of what these bills could do for the crypto industry in a tangible way.
So the Genius Act, which already passed the Senate, would effectively legalize stablecoins. These are cryptocurrencies that are backed by US dollars. They're already quite popular, but their status in the US was kind of in a gray area. If they're fully legalized, we might see more mainstream financial institutions get into that business. Then we've got the Clarity Act, which is about the rest of crypto. The Trump administration has already dropped a lot of lawsuits that the Biden administration had brought against crypto companies, sort of letting it be trading free-for-all. Now this law would kind of codify that. I think people are optimistic in the industry. This means that crypto could kind of be legalized long-term in the US.
I mean, so that speaks to the likelihood of perhaps these actually passing, because some of these are still up for debate on the House floor. What kind of consensus or even disagreements are we seeing among Democrats and Republicans? Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of wild that these bills have even got here. If you go look at like the list of laws that Congress has passed this term, this will be, other than the budget, if these pass, these would be the first substantive laws that Congress has passed this term. And I think the reason behind that's pretty obvious. Crypto industry gave $150 million last cycle to candidates. They were the #1 industry in lobbying spending. And now their priorities are, moved to the top of the list.
Well, perhaps that also speaks to the shift in narrative and comfort with regards to crypto, not just Bitcoin, not just stablecoin, but perhaps other coins out there. What other types of crypto is poised to benefit from this?
I mean, I think the reason people are getting more bullish is they're thinking, hey, right now, people who want to trade crypto can. You want to go buy Bitcoin, Solana, Fartcoin, like it's available to you. But some of the more mainstream institutions are not offering it to their customers yet. They're thinking, hey, in a world where crypto is quite clearly legal, maybe people will go on E-Trade, and right next to Apple or US Steel, they'll be able to trade Dogecoin or Fartcoin, which is actually a real and popular cryptocurrency, just for the record.
I know, there's no more joking when it comes to this industry, is there? That's Bloomberg's Zeke Fox. Thank you so much for joining us. CoreWeave is set to expand its data center in Denton, Texas. Its process is set to double the projected electricity needs of the city, causing potential stresses on the grid. For more, Bloomberg's Brody Ford joins us now. Brody, you went through a lot of documents, you got emails, documents, you spoke to officials. Talk to us about what you've gleaned about the scale that this poses on the grid and what officials plan to do about it.
Yeah, so we all kind of hear this story about how AI is causing more electricity use, but it sounds kind of vague often when it's said. What we have here is a pretty nice case study that a large data center is going to double the power needs of a Texas city. I mean, that's just one data center being put in, and this is a story playing out across the country. We're talking here about Denton. That's a pretty large town on the outskirts of Dallas. They would be offended if you called it a suburb. 150,000 people or so, and you see that just pretty incredible ramp. And I mean, the amount of new electricity being plugged into the grid is causing a lot of utility operators to say, hey, this is a lot of money for us, but this also can present some problems down the road.
What's unique about this project is also that it didn't offer local level tax breaks. What does that mean for the local economy?
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I mean, I've spoken with a lot of local officials who have inked very large projects, and generally what you hear is, look, we had to waive most of our property taxes, right? 90% in some cases, just tons and tons of potential tax revenue gone. In this case, they didn't. I mean, I don't know if Core Scientific really liked the location, but what that means is that their accounting, which we saw exclusively, means hundreds of millions of dollars of net income and tax revenue, assuming, their Excel spreadsheets were correct in this case.
That's Bloomberg's Brody Ford. Thanks so much for joining us. Coming up, a new Bloomberg survey reveals that AI features on dating apps aren't making hearts race. and might even be turning users away. More on that next. This is Bloomberg Tech. Dating apps are introducing new AI features in an effort to drive growth. But there is a problem. The features aren't landing with Gen Z. That's according to a new Bloomberg Intelligence survey. Let's bring in Bloomberg's Natalie Lung for more. Natalie, you cover dating apps. Match Group, Bumble is another one. They've been investing heavily into AI. So what does this portend for them? I mean, how existential of this is an issue?
Yeah, so Gen Z is an increasingly important cohort for the companies as millennials age up and Gen Z are becoming the new generation of daters, making up about half of Tinder's monthly active users. And so if Gen Zs are not dating as much as millennials and they're reporting more discomfort than older generations with using AI tools like selecting photos or helping with prompts, companies really face a problem there if they're investing much into it and they're not getting as much in return.
What have companies said in recent months about how they're adjusting to kind of these generational behaviors? I mean, do they rely a lot on Gen Z to participate in dating apps, or is it, still relatively concentrating amongst the older folks like millennials?
Yeah. So they're trying to release new products to attract Gen Z. They recently announced a double dating feature where Gen Z can, date with friends, making a lower pressure experience for them. So they're trying different ways to get their subscription ups. It's been in decline for the past 8 quarters, and as they're experimenting with new features, they expect revenue to decline as well before returning to growth.
Is there anything that we know about how long this kind of generational shift really will last? Is it a blip? Is it the kind of thing that might wear off after a while, or longer lasting?
Mm-hmm. This is what the companies are hoping that, as they come up with new products, Gen Z will, be more interested in the apps again. And so we'll see. They did not expect growth to return until 2027, so they have some time to figure it out.
That's Bloomberg's Natalie Lung. Thank you so much for joining us. And that does it for this edition of Bloomberg Tech. Don't forget to check out our podcast. You can find it on the terminal as well as online on Apple, Spotify, and iHeart. This is Bloomberg.